Well, good morning, everybody. I'm here with Sabrina Victoria, and I'm super excited to have you on the podcast today. So, thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I'm going to start off with reading your bio, if that's okay with you. From a struggling single mom to escaping a 13-year narcissistic abusive relationship, Sabrina's tenacity of optimistic spirit has inspired fans worldwide and helped endless amounts of people break through and discover their own untapped talents and immense potential. Now, creator and CEO of Her Nation, host of her talk show, Sabrina is dedicated to giving people the tools they need to rise and human better. She's a speaker, she's an entrepreneur, and she is an author. So, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So, we're here to inspire people, we're here to educate our listeners, and we're here to really talk about what we can do to get unstuck. You've been in business for yourself for a while, and I've been a coach for 25 years. We just read about the challenging abusive relationship that you got out. So, it's fair to assume that you've been stuck a few times. So, tell us about a time where you felt really stuck, and what did you do to get yourself out of that?
Yeah, 100%. A story that I actually don't share a whole lot is the story of as I was coming out of an abusive relationship. And I usually tell the story of like, I opened up 3 secret businesses, I opened up a secret bank account, I collected $50,000, and then I just ran away one day. And it just
Wow.
sounds like, wow, that sounds amazing. But what
Mm,
I don't always talk about is that journey of 3 to 4 years and all of the ups and downs emotionally, physically that happened
right.
to actually collect that 50,000 and run away. And the last part of the story is I was in the middle of trying to save, in the middle of trying to get money so that I could leave this abusive relationship. And single mom, I was working for him. He owned everything, had access to
Wow.
everything. I didn't have my own car. I didn't have my own phone. I didn't have my own computer. So everything was under his name. I had relinquished like pretty much all my control of this guy. So I knew when I left, I would have nothing. I would leave with no car, no phone, no, no job, nothing. So I had to get a pretty good amount of money so that when I left, I could have time to like get back on my feet again. And so at the very last tip of saving money, I had saved $15,000. And I was so happy. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." And I had told my son's father, "Hey, I'm going to be leaving. I'm looking for a place. Just want to let you know." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, girl power. Good for you. Love that."
Mm.
About a month later, my son's father calls me up and he's like, "Hey, I'd love to take our son on a camping trip." And I'm like, "Awesome. That's fabulous." It was a little before school, like a week or 2 before school.
Mm.
And long story short, he never gave him back.
What?
Yeah, he just never gave him back. He just took him. And so a year-long lawyer battle of custody.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
$18,000. Took all that savings that I had saved up. And just I don't know if for anyone who's been through the court system, it's so draining. Like, I couldn't even think straight. I couldn't even concentrate. My son's involved. I had full custody of him for over a decade at that point. And so it was absolutely devastating. And there was a point a year in where we had finally agreed on everything. And I had the piece of paper that the lawyer gives. I'm 18,000. I'm $3,000 in debt now with credit card debt, trying to pay for all of this. And I had this piece of paper in front of me that's like 18 pages long of like the holidays, the weekends, how everything goes, the calls for the child custody. And I was sitting in my car and I'm just like, dude, my life is in freaking shambles. I keep trying to do all the things. I keep trying to show up. I keep trying to show up positive. I keep trying to save money. I'm doing all the things that everyone's telling me to do. And the universe just keeps shitting on me over and over and over again. It just
Right.
keeps coming at me, just keeps
Right.
coming at me, just keeps coming at me. And I was broke. I was just so broken mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. And I remember that day, I'm crying, I'm screaming, I'm so mad. And I remember telling myself that I had to make a decision. Was I going to just give up because it had already been a decade of like abuse and mental, emotional torture with this abuser that I was with. And I finally saw a light at the end of the tunnel, then all this. And I remember saying to myself, am I going to give up or am I going to freaking try to leave again? Try to save again, try to like climb out of this again. And everything in my body was just like tired. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to keep trying until. And that's the key word that I've used in my life up to that, even to this day is until. And that's where people a lot of times have an issue is they try and then they give up. They try and then they give up. They try and then they give up. You have to try until. Those that are making it, those that are actually having success, doing things in their life, it's hard. It's all so hard, but they keep going until the goal is hit, until whatever they wanted to accomplish is actually being able to be accomplished.
Wow, that's a powerful and amazing story.
Thank you.
And here you are, a testimony to that you kept going.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's good. And that's very important what you say is that it doesn't always flow. The universe doesn't always magically align because we meditated and we set our intentions and all that kind of stuff. It does, but it doesn't always. And so then it's like, okay, where do I need to adjust? Where do I have to keep going? And I keep going and going and going and going until I go and get to where I want to go. And sometimes the target shifts, right? I'm sure you've experienced that
Absolutely.
I thought I want this. Years ago, I used to say, I want to be on Oprah. I want to be on Oprah. And I'm like, well, that doesn't matter anymore. That happens. It doesn't happen. It's not important. So, things change for us.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's good though. A lot of
Yeah.
times people don't shoot for whatever they want to shoot for because they're like, I don't know if I want to do that forever. I don't know if I want to commit to that. So that's one of the other things I talk about all the time is when you are fully committed into something, commit 100% with the
Mm.
knowing in the back of your head that you can pivot, turn, refocus at any point in your life, and then you can go all in on that. But I always
Right.
say when you're in something, go all in, 110% full speed ahead, like a freight engine or freight train. And don't get sidetracked with all the other things. And then if you decide to jump out of that box and go into another box, 100% do it, but then 100% commit to that thing and whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Who inspires you?
I have a lot of individuals in my life that inspire me. The one that I'm going to actually say though is I don't know what what you believe as far as inner child work, but I've done a lot of inner child work. I believe that we are every year we've ever been, and they're inside of me. So I believe that inside of me, I have a 1-year-old Sabrina, 7-year-old Sabrina, 12-year-old Sabrina, 13-year-old Sabrina, 30-year-old Sabrina, a 49, a 39-year-old Sabrina inside me. And I give them a lot of praise because there were so many incidences in my life where any one of those Sabrinas could have given up, could have committed suicide, could have jumped off a bridge, could have turned their steering wheel and just flown off a bridge or a cliff somewhere because she was so broken. She was so hurt. She was so devastated by so many situations that happened in her life. And every single day she decided to live. Every single day she decided to live. Every day she decided to try again. Every day she said, you know what? If today breaks me, I can always do it tomorrow. And just so grateful that she saw some sort of light or had some sort of gut feeling inside where she knew that there was something bigger and better for herself. And every single one of those Sabrinas continued to pass the baton. And I have to pass the baton also to the next year of the new Sabrina that's coming up. I have an obligation to myself, my future self. We all do have an obligation to our future self to be the best, to learn as much as we can in the present so that our future self has the ability to be able to climb and to do whatever that person is supposed to be doing at that point. So just extremely grateful for all of the learnings, all of the tenacity. that my past Sabrinas have put into who I am today.
I'm a big fan of inner child work.
Oh,
Some of what I do, of
so you
course,
get it.
because yeah, of course I get it.
Yeah.
Some of
It's
what I
very real to me. I know a lot
yeah.
of people talking like it's very woo and very like if you want. I
Mm,
100% lean into and I believe it. Like I see my Sabrinas, like I lead an entire army of
yeah.
my past Sabrinas along with me.
So when they show up, because I think they do show up from time to time.
Yes.
How do you what do you do? When the your 6-year-old shows up. My 6-year-old's been showing up a lot because I think as we're dealing with trauma around us, it's like sort of like a natural time sometimes for those parts for us to show up because, I think most of us we have PTSD to some degree,
Yeah.
and I live in Israel, and so it's like PTSD just gets reinforced. So what do you do when they show up? How do you
It
love
depends on
them?
which one is showing up.
Okay.
But yeah, my 6-year-old self, I would show up as a mother.
Mm,
I very much, I very much reassure. I think that a lot of the traumas well, I know that a lot of the traumas in my situation come up because of what they've been through.
mm,
They've been through a lot. They've been through a lot of darkness, a
yeah,
lot of sadness. And so I lead with confidence, I lead with stability, I lead with reassurance, kind of the way you would expect a coach to show up for you.
right,
When you lean in or you invest in some sort of a coach to help you personally or professionally, you expect that coach to show up with the as somebody that you can lean on, somebody that you can count on, somebody that's like, yes, 100%, you got this. And that's very much the way I show up is listen, you already did your time. You already did an amazing job. Look at where I am right now. You
mm,
can relax. You can
mm,
relax. Everything's going to go, be okay. So if I'm talking to my 6-year-old, it's like, go back and play with your Barbies. That's what you wanted to be doing when you were 6. You just want to play with Barbies the whole day, all day. You can play Barbies. You can play checkout like you're at Aldi's all day. I mean, if it's an older one, if she's 17, I've got a lot of trauma in my early 20s, 20 to probably 25. What would she want to do? She'd want to be on retreat, yoga retreat. She'd be want to be drink kombucha. She'd want to sit in a hammock and read a magazine. So I reassure her, listen, I got this. I got this. You already did your time. And I get that you're upset. I get that you're frightened. I get that you're scared, but like I've learned so much between then and now, and I'm fully capable of handling this on my own. You go relax, drink a kombucha, drink some tea, put your
mm.
feet up, and that calms me. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
thank you.
Yeah, it's good to talk about this because I think this is real. This happens. The 17-year-old, the 21-year-old shows up, and sometimes can wreak havoc.
Yeah.
Alcohol consumption's gone up. People they don't know how to be with those parts of themselves because they haven't learned or they don't know what that is. So it's good to shed some light on it. How do you help your clients? How do you inspire them?
Yeah. So I run a community called Her Nation Global. It's two-sided. So the front facing is the media side. We do podcasts, panels, our digital magazine. The whole essence of the front facing is to get women business owners seen and heard. The back end of the business is an educational point called H Club. We run masterminds, networking, business growth workshops, sales workshops. The whole mission of the company is to help women succeed and build community. One of the biggest issues that I had growing up was lack of community.
Mm,
I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I got pregnant at the age of 20 and I wasn't married. And because that was seen as a sin, I was actually cast out. I lost everything I had ever known my whole life. All of
right,
my bestest of friends, all of my family totally
right.
cut me off. And I lost my community. I lost my network at a time when I needed them the most, right? I believe that my entire mission just in life is to build community and allow people to really understand what a community is. what it actually is supposed to look like, the leverage that's supposed to happen, the resources that are supposed to happen, the love, the give and take, the teacher-student concepts. And so that's what I teach. I facilitate community, networking, and education to be able to help women succeed in life. And I've picked business. I'm very passionate about business. I believe that there are so many women with just brilliant gifts in this world, and they need to be able to share those gifts. And one of the best ways to do that is for them to be able to leave a corporate job where they're not feeling fulfilled and be able to step into their superpower, whatever that is, and to be able to help individuals, but to be able to actually make money doing it.
So are you helping people figure out what that is as well? Or are you working with women as they have already figured this out and they're like, hey, this is the business I want to?
Yes and no, not from scratch.
Mm,
Like I've never brainstormed with somebody on like, what specifically do you want to do out of these 12 things? I've never done that, but I help with the pivoting, like I was talking about earlier. So women usually come in with something, and then
mm.
there's almost always multiple pivots. So really just helping them navigate that, settle their emotions, and like, I'm a failure now because I've flipped 3 times, and really just reassuring people. When I first started out as an entrepreneur, I started out in health and wellness. I was a
Mm.
size 2. I was spinning every day. I was doing yoga. I wanted to open up a huge yoga retreat like in Colorado with tree houses and freaking light streaming all over the place. I was going to wear like hippie skirts, and my hair was going to be beaded, and I was going to have tattoos and like a little flower in my ear. I mean, that was the dream. That was the
That was
vision.
your thing.
Yeah, that was the vision. I told anybody and everybody that I met about that vision, and it pivoted into narcissistic abuse probably about 4 or 5 years later. Then it pivoted into time management organization for sales companies. So I was working for other sales companies and helping them with their workflow, their sales flow, with their time management organization within that. Then COVID happened, and then I flipped into what I do now, which is run Her Nation Global, which is all women only, and it's
Mm.
online, which I've never done before. It's an online business, and I had never done online before. COVID was a big, huge factor in that for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's 4 pivots, within a decade. And every single time I was full in, every single time I was fully dedicated, every single time I had detailed descriptions of everything that I wanted to do. And I embrace that. That's part of the journey. If I never would have dove fully into being a yoga retreat facilitator, there's no way I would be where I am now, because that idea, going all in on that, has led me to where I am now. And I know at 100% that this is where I'm supposed to be. That journey that I had to go on led me here to building Her Nation Global. And this is my life's mission, 100%.
So you don't see yourself pivoting?
Do I see myself pivoting within Her Nation Global?
Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're pivoting to 2025 huge in the media right now. So Her Nation Global started out as just a podcast. It was just a little podcast. That's all I was going to be doing. Then it pivoted into a mastermind. Then it pivoted into an online community, a Facebook group. Then it pivoted into networking groups, business growth workshops, sales workshops. And then we launched our digital magazine. We launched panels where we have women online actually speaking on panels. Launched into live events. And then heading into 2025, we're actually segmenting everything, and we're going to huge into media.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to shift the conversation a little bit. I do a lot of work with the unconscious and the subconscious. I use neuroscience to help my clients. Some people say that I use muscle testing, sort of to see what's going on with people on the deeper levels. So, and I think the emotions, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, emotions play a huge role. And, people sort of have the tendency to say, no, I'm very rational, and I rely on that sort of smart part of the brain. So I want to talk a little bit about emotions and how they've supported you, and how do you use them in order to move yourself forward.
When you're saying emotions, are these negative emotions or positive emotions? What do
All
you?
of the above. So it's like, the positive emotions, of course, it's good. We like to have the positive emotions. The negative emotions, for most people, it's a little bit more difficult. to deal with them because they can be so uncomfortable. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to feel scared. I don't want to be anxious. So, let me not do what I'm doing because I don't want to have that emotions. But sort of in general, it's like, do you work with them? Do you use them? Do what sort of like, how do they live in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. I was actually just having this conversation last night on the beach, and I was talking about how everything is neutral and how we as humans decide to give everything meaning. And I use the example of raining, right? So if it's raining out and I was supposed to be going to brunch with my girlfriends and I was trying to get my hair, I have my hair all nice and my makeup, I was going to wear a cute little outfit and it's just pouring down rain, my thought process would be, damn it, ruin the whole thing. Everything's going to be wet. I'm so freaking pissed. But if I was a woman who was a gardener and I had a beautiful garden in my backyard and I had just planted some stuff about a week ago and whatever it is, and then it rains, I'm going to be so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, this is so great. We got some fresh rain coming down on my garden. So, like, rain is rain, rain is neutral. It just is, just like everything in life just is. And then we as humans decide to give it meaning. And with negative emotions, right? With negative emotions, this could be something that somebody said. This could be the way somebody looks at you. This could be something your boss said. This could be something your spouse said that brings up, let's say, negative emotions. Really being aware of, how am I deciding to respond to this? And I actually really got an awesome learning experience with this with my abusive ex, who I was with for over a decade. And towards the end of that relationship, really dipping into personal development, probably the last 4 or 5 years with him. And I remember thinking to myself, because I stayed in victimhood for a very long time for good reason, of woe is me and my life is over and it sucks. I want to commit suicide. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to drink myself to death, numb myself out. And there was this time period right as I was leaving where I decided to take on the identity of a student on the job training. And he would throw things at me all day, every day. It was absolutely horrific. Just the verbal vomit that would come out of this individual. And I decided at one point that things that were said to me, I would take it in and I almost used it like I was at the gym. Like, how am I going to react to this? How am I going to see this? How am I going to decide to take this on, decide to look at this? And I kind of used it as a situation where I'm going to need this in the future at some point. Like, at some point in my life, something's going to come up where I'm going to need the muscle to be able to take on negativity, take on things that make me feel bad, take on bullies, take on trolls. And this is something that I need in my life to know how to respond to situations like that in my future. So instead of it being like, oh, he's doing it again, it was like, thank goodness he's freaking doing this because I need this training. Because as I just continue to grow in my businesses and create this vision that I have for myself, I'm going to need the tenacity to be able to get through some of the hard obstacles that I'm getting through. And this is the training for that. So for those of you that are out there that are dealing with maybe negative emotions and you find yourself on this whirlwind of like ups and downs and crying and angry, and you're allowing the world to almost dictate the way that you're showing up, really just taking a moment, embracing and acknowledging that you are in control. A lot of times we want to put that on them and we want to be like, they made me. They made me do that. And this whole thing of like, your action created a reaction. Yes, it did. And you are in control of the reaction. You can have any reaction you want. You can laugh, you can cry, you can walk away, you can talk softly, you can talk loudly, you can yell, you could cry. There is a plethora of ways. And it takes some self reflection to really hone in and realize, damn, I could actually show up differently in all of these situations if I practiced.
If I practiced.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah,
practiced, yeah.
and that was what I used with the situation that I was in. It was practice. Like, I love that this is happening. I love that he's being mean to me. I love that he's putting me in these high anxiety situations because it's allowing me to be able to practice for my future Sabrina.
Mm,
Right? I was already working on my personal development as far as my inner child
mm,
work, and I
mm,
knew that my older Sabrina, my future Sabrina, needed this work, so that she could get through all of
mm,
the hard stuff, and I have, right?
yeah,
Just because
yeah.
you learn, that's the whole thing, is like, people think they get a coach, they work with Dr. Barbara, and then all of a sudden everything just is perfect, and life is just perfect, and it's so great. No, all the hard shit just keeps coming. All the challenges keep coming. All the issues keep coming. Life just keeps lifing. It's just we start to learn how to react to the challenges and the issues, how long we decide to sit in the lull or the darkness or the depression or the stress. And those are all choices. You choose to sit in depression for a certain amount of time. And I'm not talking clinical, right? Like, I'm not a doctor. So I'm not
Right.
talking like people who are clinically what have you. I'm talking about just the average person who sits and is like, I'm just going to watch Netflix for the next week because my boyfriend broke up with me. You can choose to get out of those lulls faster if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you had a lot of support and amazing people that you work with that really help you with that. And it's true. It's like oftentimes I say to my clients, not what's going on, that's the issue. It's the way that you respond to the issue. That is the issue. And we can do deep work that helps us to get less triggered. So, that's one of the things I actually do. I go in and we sort of reprogram your unconscious and your subconscious, and so that there's less trigger going on, and so that we can respond easier and faster to what life brings us. And I think there's big value in that. But at some point, yes, I need to decide. Okay, I want something different in my life, or I want to make a shift. I want to pivot and throw myself off the cliff maybe, and then just see what happens.
Yeah,
And if it didn't work out, then I have to get up and do it again. So it's good what you're saying. I appreciate that.
absolutely.
What are you up to in your community? Like, you have your big community, you have your international community, but I'm sure you have your small community of maybe where you live. Like, how do you get involved? I'm going to talk about this for a moment because I used to live in Pittsburgh for 27 years, and now I live in Israel, and now I'm back here. I usually come once or twice a year, and I just participated in something called the Brave Women Project, and they had their second annual Pillar Awards. And I was just so blown away by this all women business owners and what they were up to and who was honored. And, I saw a lot of my old clients. And so and that's part of the Pittsburgh community and being involved with your immediate community. So maybe share with us a little bit about what you're doing actually where you live and how people benefit from your awesomeness.
I love that. Did you say pillow award?
Yeah.
What does pillow mean?
Pillar.
Oh, pillar. I was like, does this mean that we're like resting, self-care? What
Pillar.
is
It's
pillar
my
award?
it's my German accent.
That's fine. That's fine. I
Yeah,
actually lived in
pillar.
Pittsburgh for a few years. I worked for the Pittsburgh Tribune Review back
Oh
then.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they don't exist anymore. We have the Post Gazette now and the
Yeah.
Business Times. Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Very
awesome. It was awesome. They had 300 and some women here at Station Square. One business more fabulous than the other, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome."
That's great. I love that. Yeah, we just Her Nation Global just started getting into live events probably last year. Building network is important. And the really awesome thing about being virtual is being able to build, relationships from super far away and really seeing the need I think more so now than ever before in live events. People really are looking to physically connect with individuals. So heading into 2025, that's definitely something that we are looking into. The vision for Her Nation Global, the long-term vision is stages. That's where we're going. That's the direction that we're heading, is to get women on stages in front of tens of thousands of individuals, to be able to showcase their expertise, to be able to showcase their authority in a certain space. We want to be hosting health conferences, wealth conferences, leadership conferences for women, and to really help them step into, you know, the person that they're ultimately supposed to be. I really do think that every single individual walking the planet has the potential to be something bigger and better than they are today. And not that it happens tomorrow, right? But creating that vision for yourself by being around like-minded individuals that really are seeing life the same exact way, and having that community feel, so that you don't feel like you're doing it all by yourself, is super, super important. Definitely something that we lean into within our community.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. And I can't wait to, check it out and see where the universe is taking you. Maybe come to Israel,
There you
Europe,
go.
who knows?
Yeah.
So we're about to wrap it up. And I wanted to ask you if you had a favorite quote or favorite thought that you want to leave people with.
Yeah, 100%. One of the, or the quote that I probably adapted when I was 25, 26 years old stays with me today. I use it multiple times a day. And it's simple. It's just one sentence. I always take a deep breath right before I think it or say it. And it's a few words. And those words are, everything is going to be okay. And just really sitting in the certainty of that, the confidence in that, and the knowing of that. And one of the exercises that I implore all of the individuals that I work with to do is to have a running list of all of the accomplishments they've ever had. And I don't mean accomplishments like pillar awards. I mean accomplishments like, you know, did this part of my, accomplished this part of my business, talked to this person, went into this room and spoke about my business, did a killer elevator pitch. The little tiny things that we're doing every
Yeah.
single day that are
Right.
really helping us create confidence. So often we look at our life as a whole and we think, oh, we're just this little person who's barely done anything in comparison to like the Tony Robbins of the world or the Oprahs of the world, like you were saying. And there's so much that we have accomplished in our life. And when you can really lean into, I've done so much, I've overcome so much, all of these challenges, all of these issues, all of these struggles I've gotten over, and I am where I am now, like a warrior, basically, are things that we need to remember. When you can look back at that list and you could say, you know what, actually, everything is going to be okay. And say that with certainty, because you look down and you're like, damn, when I thought it was all coming to an end, it never did. Why? Because I'm fucking awesome. Because I'm capable. Because
Right.
I can. Because I've done it before.
Right.
So, those two things kind of together are
That's right.
something that I've used in my life.
That's awesome. Love it.
Thank
So
you.
how can people get in touch with you?
My website is a great place to start, sabrinavictoria.com. It leads you to all the locations that I handle under Her Nation Global. And if you're a business owner, a women business owner, woman entrepreneur, I would love to get in contact with you and invite you into we have a free Facebook group and a growing community called H Club, where we help women business owners thrive.
Good. Awesome. Everything's going to be in the show notes. So if you didn't catch all of that, we are going to have it there for you so you can get in touch with Sabrina.
Love it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me this morning. And it's been nice to get to know you and keep up the amazing work that you're doing, inspiring, thousands and thousands of women. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.
Of course.
And here are the takeaways from the podcast with Sabrina. Number one, adopt the until mindset. Keep trying and persevering until you reach your goals rather than giving up after setbacks. This resilience is key to success. Number two, practice inner child work. Connect with and nurture different versions of yourself from various ages. Use this to provide reassurance and support to yourself during challenging times. Number three, view challenges as training opportunities. Reframe difficult situations as chances to build skills and resilience for your future self, rather than seeing them as purely negative experiences. Number four, take control of your emotional reactions. Recognize that you have the power to choose how you respond to situations. Practice different ways of reacting to build emotional intelligence. Number five, create a running list of accomplishments. Keep track of both big and small achievements to boost confidence and remind yourself of your capabilities when facing new challenges. Number six, use the mantra, everything is going to be okay. Adopt this phrase as a tool for self-reassurance during stressful times, grounding yourself in the certainty that you can overcome obstacles. Number seven, build and leverage community. Seek out or create supportive networks of like-minded individuals to share experiences, resources, and encouragement in pursuing your goals. These are the takeaways for today's podcast. Until the next time, take care.
All right, action takers, as we wrap up today's episode, I want you to know that I believe in you. Each of you has the power to create positive change in your life, no matter where you're starting from. Remember, it's okay to take small steps. Every bit of progress counts. And the sooner you can take action, the better, because your saboteur loves to create doubt and confusion. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what I'll ask of you. Like, subscribe, leave Apple and Spotify ratings and reviews, tell a friend, and generally do all the things you would do to support a podcast you love. Your support helps this message reach more people who might need to hear it, especially right now. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode to support you on your journey. Until then, this is Dr. Barbara reminding you that you're worthy of an extraordinary life. Be kind to yourself as you work towards your goals, and remember, I am rooting for you every step of the way.